Hey guys, Wolvie here and welcome back to the channel. As always, the usual disclaimer. Any opinion here is mine and mine alone. So this is a bit of a different format than the recent videos for the PC playlist alongside my video log playlist is because I'm using an app that you guys get to see what I look like. And y'all can create your own comments in the comment section below. So I will have a link in the description below, but it's going to be a YouTube video that kind of supports parts of the meat and potatoes for this video. And once I get around to that point, you'll probably figure out why the link is there. But like I said, I am using an app because it's a bit of a different format for the playlist for the channel, the video log, and the PC folder, so to speak. So the reason why I'm doing it like this because it involves my most recent trip to Micro Center. Now, for those of you who are fortunate to live near one, you guys know what I mean. But for those of you who don't, live near Micro Center, and if you want to build your own computer at some point in the future, it's like one of the real good way to go about this to rectify it, and especially if you don't have a reliable means of transportation, is to know somebody who does live near a Micro Center or Best Buy that, it has like the parts you need. So that way, you give that person the money, they get it for you, and the rest is history there. But like I said, I am going to address something I found at Micro Center today. And I live in Chicago, so it is a Micro Center area, so to speak. So there's some stuff I found there, and this is while I was looking for other items. So hope you guys find some of this a bit entertaining at the very least. And let's just enjoy the show. So, the reason why I was at the Micro Center in Chicago earlier today was I was actually looking for a couple of items to help the driver with this particular computer. And since part 5, I do have some really good news. The driver has his hands on the build itself. He does need a few other items, to help him really get Microsoft Windows as in the operating server, not Microsoft Office. Don't get it twisted. So he is in need of a few other things, one of which he's going to get himself. I did part ways with one of my computer mice, so he has it, and it's a Red Dragon computer mouse. And not to get it confused by the graphics card by Power Color, and let me try to rephrase this because I'm about to get flustered like Major League time. But anyway, so the one of the names of the graphics cards by the AMD graphics card maker Power Color is called Red Dragon. It's 2 words. Now, when it comes to some of the computer accessories like computer mice, mouse pads, keyboards, speakers, headphones. The company there's a company out there called Red Dragon, but it's REDRGAON, and that's 1 word. So keep that in mind. So basically, I went to Micro Center to grab a couple of items by the company Red Dragon, the computer accessory company. And to be more specific, at least a keyboard and or a mouse pad, because again, the driver does have the mouse, my spare mouse, which I'm more than willing to part ways with because I do have the super cheap one that I set aside to run my computer test, make sure things post, that sort of thing. So I found the computer keyboard by Red Dragon, something I really like, as well as a reasonably priced mouse pad. Now, for shits and giggles, I decided to go to the BYOPC section of Micro Center and only to look at the X670 motherboards because, as we all know, it was only a few days ago that the X670 series motherboards have just released a few days ago. And this is the AMD version. It's like the way they did the 670 series, and I know there's a 650 series coming up at some point this month, being in October. And guess what I discovered? In the first few days here in the Windy City's Micro Center, hardly anybody was buying them. Because you probably won't be able to make out the quality of this photo right here, but I will zoom it in, just to show honesty. Looks like some of these have already been returned to Micro Center, which could very well mean, in my personal opinion, that not many of these are being sold. And if they are, they're being returned just as quickly. And the further proof, for further proof that some of these 670 motherboards are being returned, it's I'm going to zoom it in. You see that, if you may not be able to tell right there, but that is an open box item, meaning that somebody opened it, and sadly they were like, yeah, I don't want it. And yeah, it is pretty freaking expensive for these 670 motherboards, so it doesn't look like these are selling. And to be a little bit more honest, I know Jayz 2 Cents mentioned something about the 670 motherboards, the AM5, that sort of thing. So I'm going to have his video in the description below so you guys can watch that one on your own time. Now, the thing is for me is that when it comes to my personal builds, and like I said, I have 3. 2 of them are in the living room. The third one's in my bedroom. And all 3 motherboards, I know I've had them for less than a year. And they're all AM4. So because of the timing that I bought those motherboards, I'm very much will be skipping the X670 until it gets closer to the quote-unquote end of life, which means another 4 or 5 years, and especially when the AIO cooler on Odin is no longer good. So like I said here, I was doing a little trip to Micro Center again to grab a keyboard and a mouse pad for my driver, the one where that 5-part video is from. So basically I just took a trip, to the BYPOC for shits and giggles. And again, hardly anybody's picking up the 670 motherboards. And I also saw a bunch of the 7000 series CPUs by AMD. There's a bunch of them still on the shelves. I'm like, a part of me was kind of scratching my head. But I had a conversation with one of my other drivers. Is that we were both like, we're skipping 7000 series. We're skipping the 670 motherboards. Thank you very much. And for me to see this with my own 2 eyes, it's like, gives me another reason why I'm glad to have skipped. And I did see, some degree of the 500 series motherboards, 400 series motherboards, but you know where this is going to go. So the 600 series, it's barely any of it's being bought. And if I had to put a reason as to I wouldn't say a reason, but a possible reason, and it's because I do think that this country, we are heading straight towards another recession. And I do feel that inflation is playing a role in this, and to be more specific, hyperinflation, where things just keeping on going up in price. It's a matter of time, in my personal opinion, before people are going to be forced to choose to be like, do I put food on the table, or do I pay my bills, or do I pay my share of the rent, or mortgage, or property tax bill, or any other bill that might be in my name. I feel that we are heading in that direction. And it's because, again, I feel it is hyperinflation that's doing this. It's forcing more people to choose between a luxury and some of the basic necessities. And if you have like the wages not keeping up with that hyperinflation, again, I feel that we are heading into a recession here in the U.S. And I know there are other countries out there that are in a similar or worse situation than the U.S. on the economy. As to whether or not I feel that the rise of long COVID and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic are playing big roles in this, that is a yes from me. Because you can't expect one thing without, let me rephrase this. You can't expect one thing to happen without the risk of the opposite effect. Meaning that if you want everybody to return to work and have nothing in place to make sure they feel safe and healthy from the inside out, and then somehow they lose the ability to work, is the return to quote-unquote normal even worth it? Because now we're dealing with possible I would say possibly, but looks like we are dealing with hyperinflation. It looks like that we will be heading into another recession. Meaning that common people like you and I are going to be forced to choose. What do we invest our money into? What do we have to wait on? And if some of the stuff that we have to choose from is our basic necessities, like the shelter as in the roof over our heads, food on the table to make sure we're like warm and all that stuff, clothes on our backs to go to work or school or whatever job out there or whatever, or even like the utilities. It's like if we have to choose between that, because everything is so damn expensive, I think it's going to be time that all these companies might want to hold off on certain things until the economy is more under control. Now, you may have just caught me in a bit of a rant here, but I would like to coin this a classy rant, meaning that I'm venting out my frustrations here, but I'm doing it as a classy way as possible without so much profanity. Because when I usually rant, I swear like a damn sailor. But again, to recap, I did, make my journey into Micro Center just to grab a couple of things from one of the driver, where that build is from that 5-parter. And like I said, for shits and giggles, I went to the BYOPC, just to look at the 600 series motherboards for AMD, and hardly any of them are being bought. And some of the ones that are bought were returned. So I do think that because of this, and the fact there are quite a few of the 7000 series AMD CPUs on the shelves, I fully believe that we are heading into a recession here in the US alone. And I've been reading some emails here and there, and mostly skimming because of my line of work, is that we may be forced to be picking between certain things. Housing payments, whether it be the property tax, which I believe is twice a year. Somebody will let me know in the comment section about that. So again, there's that property tax, which I think is twice a year. You have mortgage if you have that. You have the rent. That's the examples of house payments, that sort of thing. Then you have your utilities, electricity, gas, heating, water, depending on what your living arrangements. Then you have food. Then you have the other bills like phone bill, transportation. It's if we're this much closer to being forced between some of our basic necessities, it is time for these companies to really hold back on new releases, or alternatively lower the prices, because People are getting dissatisfied. People are returning things for whatever reason. Jayz 2 Cents video on the AM5 based motherboards. That's an excellent video. I recommend everyone watch it. If you catch my drift in. I'm not crying. My eyes are just a little bit watery. I had a bit of a cough fest, so I do need some water, so I will be back. Okay, so I am back. I did get a little bit of water. So, what do I think about, what do I think about the the AM5 motherboards hardly being moved, and is by that being sold and kept? This is something that's not surprising, sadly, and that's again because we're looking at hyperinflation, very potential recession, and that is amongst other things. And again, I'm gonna have the Jayz 2 Cents video on this, like, the matter here in the description below, because he does talk about the AM5 motherboards. So with that section out of the way, I'm going to go into one of the two items that I bought for the driver. Again, this is for the build that, like I said, in that 5-parter, he does have it in his possession, so I'm really happy with that. So this is the mouse pad I wound up getting for him, and I'm going to zoom in on something to point something out. I did not pay that much. That's the actual price for this particular mouse pad is 15 United States dollars. I only paid 8. And I like this. I mean, for me, it's just like, it's simplistic. All that's, I mean, simplistic, doesn't cost an arm and a leg. And if I really had to be honest here, it's like, I'd rather, have computer peripherals, accessories that does the job without breaking the bank. And this is something, for the driver's build, this is something I know would fit that bill. Now, there are, things like upgrade. There are things. Blah, 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 blah. Let me rephrase this. Now, there is that possibility of, either the driver upgrading, some stuff down the line, which is completely fair, or they may hold on to certain things because, nostalgia, whatever have you. So the other item, I got from Micro Center for the driver today is actually, let me grab it real quick. Okay, so it's not this exact keyboard you see here. I actually found this very keyboard at Micro Center, but in black. My apologies. Am I? Okay, good. Okay, I thought I paused there for a second, but just to do a thing here, this is like, so the keyboard, computer keyboard that I bought for the driver is not this exact one. I mean, granted, it is by Red Dragon. However, instead of the white, the one you see here in white, which is in my apartment, he's going to get this, like, model in black. Now, what I particularly like about this keyboard is that it actually has a wrist rest that's magnetic, so you can just like connect it, and it's just like, wow. I just love it overall. So he's got this one in black, and the price I paid for the black keyboard at Micro Center was 23 United States dollars, and it's usually sold for 40. So, another tip here and there I would like to, share to everybody is that if you can get a deal on computer components or any peripheral, go for it. You're going to be so much better off in the end, because it's like, instead of paying full price for a computer keyboard or a mouse, chair, monitor, CPU, GPU, whatever have you, if you can get save some money here and there, it makes a world of difference. And especially at times where we're looking at a very potential return to recession, as well as hyperinflation, alongside varying but key flaws with the design of things like the AM5 motherboards from AMD, alongside the AMD Ryzen 7000 family CPUs. And the reason why I say, catch as many deals as possible, because again, we're looking at potential times of where we're more than likely going to return to recession. And saving every penny is going to matter in this time. Now, on a happy note regarding this particular build I did for the driver, again, he is getting his own monitor. I just gave him, like places to go, places to avoid. And one key place to avoid, if you're looking for a computer monitor here in Chicago, avoid Craigslist. And I say that because there's hardly anything there now on Craigslist for the Chicago area that is worth getting. I mean, and this is despite the fact that one of the monitors in my main streaming area was found on Craigslist, but like I said, that was really lucky on my end. And I'm happy with that. But in general, avoid Craigslist for a gaming monitor, because there's very few in that regard there. And on another note, I do have a bit of an announcement. It's a bit of a good news one. So the reason why I bring this particular photo I took, and it was a bit of a questionnaire that I created, is that it turns out a couple of days ago, another driver, it's not the same driver, it's a different driver, he has reached out to me and said of like another computer build, for like, I wouldn't say another computer build, but computer for one of his kids. So it's one of those things where it's like, I'm going to be doing this, once I finish up the questionnaire, give it to him, so that way he and his son, could go over it. So hopefully, I mean, so this is another, a potential possibility, you could say, because this could lead me on the path to starting my own business. But will that be a reality? That remains to be seen. But, like I said, it is good news. And like I said, I'm doing this questionnaire. So once I get done, like making sure it's like done the way I want it, I'm going to give it to the driver, let him and his son talk it over. So that way, they can get the parts and I can build it for them. So that's the news I have. And it's, like I said, it is going to be based on this questionnaire. I'm going to be holding on to the finished version of the questionnaire in case anybody else here in Chicago, wants their own computer, but it's like they don't really know anybody that can build it for them. That sort of thing. So that's the good news I have, and I'm going to have a bit of a conclusion to this in a moment or two. So all in all, my trip to the Micro Center in Chicago was quite hilarious. And on a side note that I forgot to mention earlier, was that I was looking at the graphics card section of the Micro Center. I mean, some of them are starting to sell out, I would say. Because I noticed at Micro Center today, there was nothing for the 3090 family, meaning that the 3090, 3090 Ti. I want to say some of the 6800 family of the AMD GPUs, I didn't see any of those. I saw maybe a couple of 6950 XT AMD GPUs, but it's like nothing much of significance because, again, some of these graphics cards are starting to sell again. But I honestly don't know if that's going to be making much of a difference in sense of what's coming up in the future, meaning that we have the 7000 series AMD GPUs alongside the 40 series RTX GPUs from NVIDIA. And on the NVIDIA GPU stuff, I mean, there are quite a few people who have covered, all the good important stuff there. But for me and my builds, because mine are recent in the sense of like the 3060 Ti, my 3070 Ti, and my 6600, I wouldn't say may or may not, but I most likely will be skipping the very generations, meaning that the 40 series GPUs from NVIDIA and the AMD GPUs, the 7000 series, because of the fact that both of all my graphics cards are not old enough for me to like upgrade so soon. And like the motherboard CPU aspect, I will most likely be waiting until the end of life before even I upgrade. And that's all I really have to say on that, because I'm about to go to the gym in a little bit. So that's that on that. So with Wolvie here signing off, I will catch you all on the flip side.